Another significant area where self-consciousness seems to emerge is with respect to social anxiety, which I think falls, loosely put, falls into three categories. Firstly, a lack of experience, which we might label as shyness. Secondly, your anxiety, OCD or depression sabotaging you, which we've talked a lot about. And finally, having a complex personality which overwhelms you. Now that first group, that lack of experience or the narcissistic feeling of shyness, I'm afraid to say is overcome by practicing more and the doing the very thing that makes you feel uncomfortable. You have to go and talk to more people. In the shop, at the bus stop, telephone your friends, talk to your neighbours. You have to become the person who starts conversations. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It's called ERP, Exposure and Response Prevention Therapy, as I keep talking about over and over again, because it works. But so many shy people say to me, I can't do that because I got nothing to say, right? As my life or I am very, very boring. Well, that really saddens me when a person talks or thinks that way. Firstly, if your life is boring, is that what you want? Because there are a million things you could be doing with it. One of my friends, he's really interesting because he does lots of things. Just last week he was telling me about the beekeeping, astronomy and local history courses he was currently taking. And I said, wow, are you going to become a beekeeper? And he said, no, I'm just fascinated with learning new things. They interest me. Now he's an interesting guy because he does lots of interesting things. Therefore he has lots of interesting things to talk about. So many shy or introverted people say to me, oh, I'm too shy to talk, or I don't know what to say. And it is true that some people can talk the hind legs off a donkey, and some people love small talk and others like being quiet. But my point is this, even if you don't like small talk or you are quiet, that doesn't mean you shouldn't practice this skill of becoming more open. As I said, I hate small talk, but I've learned how to do it because it's a useful tool that allows me to stay integrated into society. And times when I don't want to talk, okay, I just say, don't mind me, I'm just quiet, but I love listening. Can I hang out with you guys? Okay. And people go, yeah, sure. And nobody has an expectation of me. Okay. And I'd also like you to become aware that it's possible to keep a person talking for ages, especially about things that they're interested in, just through using the words what, how, when, why, and who. So when you're in a conversation, let me give you some examples. You say, that's interesting. What did you do next? You say, wow, how did it make you feel? What else did they say? What do you think you're going to do about that? How did they respond? Who else might be interested? What is it about that that really interests you? What other plans do you have? You pretend to be interested in the other person, even if you're not, by asking questions on topics the person likes, regardless of your interest in them. And this is obvious, really. People enjoy talking about what they're interested in. So even if you don't have much to say, you can still have long chats. Just keep asking them questions about the things they love, their children, gardening, the news, motorbikes, or whatever their thing is. Ask them, what do you love doing? But know this, okay? What people say is not that relevant. What's important is that we're having an emotional connection with another person. And in doing so, we are expanding our capacity to feel more comfortable in social situations. Now, the second group are those where anxiety or OCD are overwhelming you with emotional triggers or negative stories that influence you away from social connections. And here, I'm sorry, but we just have to go back to the basics that I've been talking about since video 1. These are the symptoms of your emotional exhaustion, the ways your ego is sabotaging you, and you need to focus on recharging your emotional battery, which I talk about in video 4, retraining your amygdala, which we talk about in video 8, and releasing trapped trauma, which we talk about in video 15, and setting clearer intentions for the life you wish to lead, which we talk about in video 32, part 1 and 2. Now, the third group are those with complex personalities, where we ask ourselves, which of your characters has the social anxiety? Is it your settler who's been trained to be too agreeable, too polite, too nice, you might say? Is your loud, cheeky and fun nomad feeling subdued? Or has your dominant warrior who just wishes to speak his mind been trained to hold back, leaving you feel angry, out of control and without a voice? Or some combination of them all. As I said in video 16, practice being one character at a time, and in the moment that that character is doing what it does, the other two are patiently sitting in the sidelines waiting for the right time for them to come out. And how can you practice being more warrior when it's safe to do so? How can you practice being more nomad when it's safe to do so? How can you expand your ability to function in any environment? So, self-consciousness is overcome through self-awareness, the conscious decision to engage with life without listening to your old programming. And it's like everything I've been teaching you, it's not hard to understand, but it takes courage to do, and is well worth doing in the long run. As ever, repetition, repetition, and more repetition of new behaviors with a more positive, optimistic, and conscious internal self-dialogue. The rider steps out boldly, regardless of the little horse's thoughts or feelings, as I talked about in video 13. Okay, let's bring another concept in. Let me introduce you to something called thinking feelingly, meaning to consider how what you are thinking might make you feel. Yeah? And is how you are thinking motivating you towards your intentions, which ought to feel good, or trapping you in anxiety or fear, which will likely make you feel bad. Somebody asked me recently how to improve their willpower. And I said, do you desire to do the thing that you want more willpower to do? And they said, not really. So can you see that to desire something automatically brings in willpower? Desire always trumps willpower. And this is why I keep asking you, what do you want to do? Who do you desire to become? What do you need to change? Do you desire to be calm, or are you trying to use willpower to avoid anxiety? I was watching a fun entertainment series on Netflix recently called Lucifer. And in it, the devil is helping the LA Police Department to solve crimes. And the devil's superpower is his ability to stare into the person's eyes and puts them into a hypnotic trance. And then he says to them, what do you desire? And they get all dreamy and say things like, well, I always wanted to run a dog shelter, or I always wanted to be a florist, or all I ever wanted was to earn my father's respect, or write a book, or join the Foreign Legion, or whatever their deepest desire was hidden under all the stories that their ego was telling them. Now, I really like that concept. I think if I could choose a superpower, that would be in my top 3. Along with being able to fly and having fire breath. And the reason is because as a therapist, I'm always asking people what they desire. And 9 out of 10 of them will tell me about all the things they don't want rather than what they do want. Well, to desire something is to think feelingly. To think about what you want and to imagine how it might feel if you had it. A thought, a feeling, and an intention. This is how everything on this planet ever got started. First, a person had a thought, it felt good, so they moved towards making it happen. Be that baking a cake, building a rocket, planting some vegetables, or asking a person out on a date. They ignored every thought in their mind that was not in line with that intention, or which attempted to talk them out of taking action. In fact, if they were smart, they would keep repeating that positive thought of intention and action over and over again until our friend the RAS, the reticular activating system in our brain, video 18, had adopted this as the new center of attention for our unconscious mind to be focusing on. And remember, running a good story in your mind tricks the body into releasing nice peptides, and it keeps us in the parasympathetic rest, digest and repair mode, which is perfect for our well-being and recharging our emotional batteries. So, your challenge, should you wish to accept it, is, can you think feelingly about what you desire? Yeah? And can you keep positively placeboing yourself into it? I like the Steve Jobs quote, follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you want to become, and everything else is secondary. As I said in video 31, intuition doesn't come from your mind. Fear comes from your mind. Intuition is a natural energy. It's a hidden non-verbal language that resides just beneath our 5 main senses, which needs to be discovered, trusted, and developed. It's not by listening to the old stories in your mind that you will free yourself. It's by going down deeper within yourself and learning how to trust more. So,